Okay. All right, dogs. Dogs check. Microphone check. Light check. Cameras check. We're good to go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Houston with a Problem. My current problem is that I'm recovering from, I think, round 2 of COVID. I don't know how much voice I have, and I'm going to try my best not to blow my nose on the air or hack my lung up. Although I really want to just hack my lungs up right now. So, we're going to give it a whirl. I've been pounding orange juice and water, and I can almost taste the orange juice. I can taste sweet things, so that's kind of a problem, because I'm like, chocolate. But I can't smell anything yet. So, we are where we are. Right off the bat, Roe v. Wade was overturned today by the Supreme Court in a really poorly written decision. We are at a precipice in this country that is just awful. We're essentially stripping the Fourth Amendment of any meaning. We don't really know exactly what states' rights means versus supremacy clause. The court is just a mess of theocratic decisions. Thomas said he's going after contraception and gay marriage next. And it's slippery slope on those things because, our freedoms of privacy and who we love is on the chopping block. And if, you aren't allowed to use contraception and you aren't allowed to love or have sex with who you want, then, interracial marriage is on the table. And it's a pretty sad, pathetic day, and there's lots of protests going on, and people are justifiably angry because a vast majority, 70% of Americans, think Roe v. Wade should be codified into law. And we have a Supreme Court where 5 of the 9 justices were appointed by a president who lost the popular election. They represent not just a minority, but an increasingly small minority in the United States. And they are pulling legal precedent out of their ass. Just the other day, they struck down a gun law in New York that's been around for over 100 years, claiming there was no historical precedent for this law. The gun law in New York has existed before taxes were a thing, since before women had the right to vote, since Oklahoma was a state. A law that's been around for over 100 years is precedent. The court said the federal government can't do anything about gun laws. The states can't do anything about gun laws. But the states can do things about people's right to privacy in regards to women's right to choose. This is going to get women killed. It's going to make our economy weaker. It's going to create even more generational trauma that's getting passed down with unwanted children who are the products of rape or incest, women who die from ectopic pregnancies or have to give birth to vegetable children. It's going to cost us a fortune in money, in healthcare, in compassion, in time. This law is sentencing a lot of women to a lot of doom. 100,000 women a year have ectopic pregnancies that if they don't get an abortion, they die. 100,000. 100,000 women a year could die because of this decision. It's messed up, man. It is absolutely messed up. And, we're being led by a theocratic minority who does not care about rights or freedom or anything else. All they seem to care about is being able to directly control your private life. We're screwed. We're absolutely screwed. If the Democrats don't somehow codify Roe, don't somehow pack the courts The original reason why we have 9 justices in the court that was decided, 130 years ago, was because there were 9 districts. So there's one Supreme Court justice to represent each district across the country. We have 13 districts now. So make 13 justices. Pack the courts. Ram through a bunch of these laws, overchange it, and just make life better for people. We really, 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 really need to do this. We need to give representation to all American citizens so that folks in DC, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Guam, Saipan, Samoa, they all get representation. We need to eliminate the cap on the House of Representatives and make every single solitary congressional district in the United States the exact same size so that small states don't have a few people per representative and large states like California have 800,000 per representative. It needs to be equal, and we need to get rid of electoral college. Just get rid of it, and we need to do this stuff now, because if we don't fix this, I think probably by November, America's done. I think we're done as a country. It's going to be messed up. We're going to fractionalize. We're going to have just rampant violence. Americans killing Americans, and I don't see a good future. My crystal ball is out right now, and I think we've got 5 months to just ram this through, and for Democrats to grow a fucking pair of balls and to actually do their job and not just talk about it. I got a dozen emails and text messages today like, Houston, your freedom's on the brink. You need to donate to our campaigns. Fuck you. You're not getting shit from me until you codify Roe. You got until, September to codify that thing? Do it. Maybe I'll donate something after that. But we're in garbage land, and you're probably going to get more rants out of me, so I'm going to just do one of these now. All right. Intro off. I don't know if I'll be able to do 2 hours today. I am quite scratchy in the throat area, and I'm very, very deep. Okay, Stonk Nader. I think it's time to disband Supreme Court, switch to voting for what people want majority rules. We need to definitely have more majority rules in this nation. People are like, oh, but the majority will then threaten the minority. That is not what our nation... We have the Constitution to protect the minorities, not to empower them. You know, the reason why 800,000 people got hacked apart in Rwanda with machetes was because when the Belgians were in Rwanda, they took the minority group and made them go into power. And that minority group had to wield their power with an iron fist in order to control the mass of the population. And when the mass of the population got sick of it, they hacked everybody apart with machetes. We're looking at something pretty similar to that if this Supreme Court keeps doing what it's doing. I would love to amend the Constitution so that justices don't have a life term anymore. Give them 8 years, 9 years. Do that. You get one appointment, goes for 8, 9 years, and maybe 13 years. 13 justices, 13 years, you appoint a new one each year. So you know what's coming up. And each president will get 4 appointments or something per term. I'm okay with that. But these people should not be in power for as long as they are. They shouldn't, sit on the bench until they die with their antiquated ideas. It is... So, okay. Angel Flores Jr. Thoughts on B-Big. B-Big is, this is the 4th date they've set for the Tyco... what's it called? Tide. Sorry, not Tyco. Tide dividends. It's for, what was the date? July 27th or something? Or was it June 27th? Somewhere in there. Can't remember which one. But, fingers crossed, I'm still sitting and waiting, hoping that it happens. I'm curious to see when those shares get issued, what happens. So, I don't have much thoughts beyond every single time they set a date, it doesn't happen, and then they set another date. So, times of the essence here. Okay, Legacy 10 Productions. Houston, can you explain how a direct offering affects stock in layman's terms, not referring to any particular stock? Wink, wink. Fish Wars mattress. Direct offering, I prefer offerings at market. If you're smart and you're a smart company, I'm looking at you, you know who I'm talking about. If you're a smart company, you offer stock slowly over the course of weeks or months at market. You don't do a direct offering at below market and dump it all at once. It is a very, very stupid and very terrible idea, especially when you weren't supposed to do it yet, and you were supposed to instead announce that you just bought another company. So, don't offer direct, offer at the market and slowly. It's what GameStop does, and it's very successful. Offering direct and at a discount is what AMC does, and it's very unsuccessful. So, if you want to learn your lesson, and learn your lesson really well, what do, kids? We offer stock at market price slowly over weeks or months. Dun 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 dun. Bing! Done. You do not give hedge funds the upper hand. You do not screw over your retail investors. This is terrible, terrible lessons that people need to learn. And my services are for hire. If you want me to consult, you can pay me $1 million, and I will tell you the exact same sentence 400 different ways. And you will be a successful CEO. Okay. BOFH. On that note, I generally think we are going to see some violence soon. Not sure if it's going to happen against SCOTUS or Congress first, but I think both are going to be hit somehow. We saw some violence a year and a half ago. I think people are pissed off. We've got people who are pissed off because they're lied to a whole bunch and they believe a whole bunch of weird fake things. And we got a bunch of people who are pissed off because they're seeing their rights get stripped away by a minority court, or a court that represents the minority. Most people want gun control. They want background checks. They want waiting periods. They want just sensible gun registration, licensing, insurance, things like that. Most people want universal health care in the United States. Most people want Roe v. Wade to be codified into law and women have the right to choose. These are three things that a vast majority of Americans agree upon, and three things that are being stripped away from us. I don't know, man. People are going to lose their minds, I think. There's probably going to be a lot of protests tonight in all these cities all over the country, and I think it's going to be a summer of protest again. I think we're going to see similar to 2020, just protest night after night after night after night, man. So, yeah. I think you might be right, BOFH. People starting to wake up to the fact the government doesn't work for them anymore. It has not been working for us for a long time. Probably since Reagan, really, is when it really stopped working for us. There's a wonderful Twitter thread, I'll find the link to it, where somebody pointed out like all these graphs of all these horrible things that happen with the economy, with demographics and everything else, and it's just a point where there's Ronald Reagan taking office and just all these graphs just go, things are going to shit, things are going to shit, things are going to shit. Because what Ronald Reagan managed to do was he told everyone, government doesn't work. Elect me and I'll prove it. And he made it so government doesn't work. And he spent a lot of money and people didn't get much for it and stripped away regulations. And then we had recessions. After big waves of gains, we had these powerful recessions that were prolonged and lasted a long time. And it's a debt model we've never been able to get out of since the 80s. It's pretty remarkable. So, Ronald Reagan sucks. If you guys ever need a song, Killer Mike Reagan, excellent song. I highly recommend it. And I think I did. Oh, I just realized I was eating a chocolate chip cookie and I got chocolate all over my shirt. Oh man, hope it doesn't stain. I got a turd on my shirt. Oh. Only things I can taste are sweet, so I've been eating chocolate chip cookies because they're delicious. Okay. And BOFH also says, I know it's not worth much, but both Reddit and Twitter have been edging up outright call for violence. People are pissed. They are. Man. Brandon T. Houston, did you ever watch the movie Margin Call? Yes. The more signs of crash I see, the more I'm reminded of the line, look at these people out there who have no idea what's about to happen. Yeah. I think this is going to be a bigger crash than 2008. 2008 was, the Great Recession. I think this is going to make the Great Recession look like peanuts. Mortgages are the highest they've been since November 2008. What happened November 2008? Housing prices are declining quite rapidly. Corporate debt bubble is out of control. Inflation, out of control. Commercial real estate market, dying. Bond market, dying. Mortgage-backed securities market, dying. World War III, possible. Sri Lanka, Russia, Lebanon, all defaulting. China, its entire real estate market is collapsing. We're about to face a hell of a food crisis globally. Maybe not so much in the United States, but around the world for sure. Places that are very dependent upon Ukrainian or Russian grains are going to be greatly affected. This next year or two are going to be brutal. And I just do not see the light at the end of the tunnel anytime soon. I think we are trying to be a downer, but man, William Morgan, he loves to send me lots of news throughout the day, and I just feel every time I open up my DMs to see what he sent me, it just feels like the beginning of Dawn of the Dead or something, where the TV news is just like, oh yeah, nothing to worry about, it's just some sick people or whatever, to, oh, some weird people are attacking others, to, like, it's a zombie apocalypse, we're all gonna die, to, oh, we're all dying, and then everyone's getting attacked. It's just like, the news just keeps getting worse and worse at a steady pace, but the one thing no one is saying is that the shit's gonna hit the fan. They're all like, oh, this bad thing is happening, and this bad thing is happening, and this bad thing is happening, but they aren't like putting it in the big picture of the market is going to crash really, really hard. Really hard. I know that the Fed and everyone else are trying to cushion this blow, but it's still, the NASDAQ still has probably 50% to go, if not more. Gas at $9 a gallon in the U.S. isn't going to fly. People aren't driving. They're not going on vacation. It's, man, brutal. All right. Stop sending Houston doom porn. But man, it's okay. William Morgan says B-Big Tide is June 29th. 29th. What day is the 29th? 29th is next Wednesday. Okay, next Wednesday. I'll be in Canada. So I'll be back in Canada on that Wednesday. So I'll probably no show that Wednesday, unless I somehow get back miraculously at a time I can stay awake. Okay, now we're into the William Morgan news zone here. This week, second highest week of shorting in world history. That's saying something. Everyone know, which is crazy because the futures are all up right now. The Dow's up like 3% in futures, something crazy like that. So buying some puts on the SPY is probably not so bad. Okay. 15% nationwide tenants nationwide are exceedingly late on rent. Man. Oh, I forgot to check. Oh shoot, I forgot to check my whatchamacallit, super chats. Just from Dex, DTCC waved away margin calls during the sneeze. What's to stop them next time around? Yeah, they shouldn't have done that. They should have been like, margin call, because that's their job. I understand why they didn't do it, because margin call all of a sudden makes the DTC go, oh shit, we got to pay money. We don't want to pay money. So maybe if we just ignore this for a little bit and just ignore, everything will be red as rain again. We'll just turn off the buy button, everything red as rain, and it worked for them. What's coming, I don't think is something they can push off. The sneeze was a fluke, according to like their algorithms and everything, and they weren't prepared for it. I don't think anyone's prepared for the market crash that's coming. It's going to be deep, and it's going to eat away collateral so much that they aren't going to be able to ignore it for a couple of days and everything resets itself, because it's going to last for like a year. And that type of drop that can wipe out entire banks and lending institutions is like, bank just ceases to exist one day. You can't be like, I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to ignore that Bank of America no longer exists. You just can't do that. So, man, yeah, it's what's coming is going to be a lot bigger than $10 billion that they're ignoring in margin or in collateral. It's going to be like trillions that they're going to have to ignore, and I don't think they're going to be able to do it. Okay, somebody else did a super chat. I just noticed. Chakuseki, sorry, bud. Sorry I missed yours. Hey, brother. Wondering about any first thoughts on the GameStop U.S. House Committee on Financial Services report. Yes, just from Dax just mentioned that. I think dumping it on a Friday is always... there's a reason why they dumped that on a Friday and the Roe v. Wade overturning on a Friday. Is you dump bad news on a Friday so that everyone can forget about it by Monday. That's always like the rule. And they should have dumped this thing on a Monday of this week so that we talked about it for 4 days, and then we can deal with Roe v. Wade on the weekend. But basically, the House report basically said, yeah, all these guys lied to us, committed perjury in our hearings, and we don't care. That's kind of what it came down to. There was no solutions. Just kind of like, yep, well, they lied to us, and they kind of broke the law and fucked everybody over. Oh, what are you going to do? And we need more from our elected officials than that, man. A lot more than that. But... the fact that we're in these meme stocks, though, means the world's collapsing and things are looking up, I guess. The more doom and gloom we get, the better it is for our GameStop stocks. So that's our future. It's us picking over the bones of society, going, I finally made it. Oh, we're morbid. We are morbid creatures. Okay. Okay, where am I? William Morgan, Visco says Italy's economic situation deteriorating. Yeah, so, post MOAS, cheap homes in Italy. Clayton Brune, despite failings, Trotsky observed long ago that capitalism and decay veers towards fascism, no exception today. I pledge MOAS money to abortion funds. Yeah. People love to find scapegoats, and they love to find scapegoats who look different from them. And that really helps fascists do their fascist thing. And what we're seeing sort of this theocratic fascism that is specifically targeting LGBTQ folks first. And then the majority of the population goes, well, I'm not gay or trans, so, I don't care. And then you fall into that classic poem, first they came for the socialists, but I was a socialist, so I didn't do anything. And then they came for the gays, and I wasn't gay, and I didn't do anything. And then they came for me, and no one was there to help me. That type of thing. There is a level of sexual panic that is ridiculous and just, I don't know, man. We all know about the book burnings by the Nazis, and the lead up to World War II. Do you guys know what books they were burning? They were burning the library and the artwork of gay and trans German artists. Those are the books they were burning. That's how it started. So when you see all these book bannings from libraries because they discuss topics of gender and sexuality when you see, them calling people who just exist as a gay or trans person, a groomer and stuff like that. This is the language of othering these people and taking their state of being, which is basically, they identify as one gender or another, or have a sexual identity that is different than the mainstream, and it's othering them and taking away their humanity, claiming that it's an ulterior motive to commit crime. And it's not, man. It's not. It's just that they want to be treated like human beings and have all the same rights as everybody else. That's just the way it is. I ask you that when you see that stuff, say something about it. Stand up. Do the right thing and be like, no, you're wrong. Leave them alone. It's not that hard. They might get all pissy in your face, but fuck them. That's what we need to do, man. Just, you're wrong. You're wrong and you're a bad person. Stop persecuting people. It's that easy. Stop persecuting them. Let them live their lives. Go back under the rock you came from. I really wish that we had a big punk rock movement that would just take skinheads and disappear them. Just kick their asses until they leave public and they just go back underground again. It took a lot of them in the 80s and 90s to do that. But man, they are just out and proud and bold as ever. And those skinheads need to go away. They need to go away, man. Okay. All right. Sorry if I feel low energy. I'm trying to get up there, but I don't know. My VO2 max is probably terrible right now. Okay. The William Morgan news train here. European central banks' risk of financial stability have increased. JP Morgan fired hundreds of mortgage employees. 80% of economists see stagflation as a long-term risk. That's very likely. It's estimated that the Federal Reserve has an unrecognized mark-to-market loss of $540 billion on its $8.8 trillion portfolio of treasury bonds and mortgage securities. It's going to get worse because they're selling off 7-point-something trillion of them over the next year and a half, and they're going to be dumping it in a bear market, which means whatever they paid for it since 2020, it's going to be worth less when they sell it. So the Fed is going to lose probably a couple of trillion on that overall. And they've only sold like 50 billion so far, because they're going to be doing like 40 or 50 billion a month until Christmas and up it up more. But they may have to revert and buy if things get as bad as we think they're going to be. Curious one. Can you talk about metamaterial? Oops. No, I can't. Where'd it go? Curious one. Can you talk about metamaterial without talking about metamaterial? Like a little secret code. I think we did a little secret code there. Yeah. Yeah. Don't offer direct. Offer at the market slowly, over weeks or months. Do that. Okay. William Morgan, the media admitted to this week to illegal synthetics happening. Yep. And then do nothing about it. Man. Yeah. Sri Lanka PM says country's economy has collapsed, cannot pay even for oil imports. Yeah, Sri Lanka's, they're screwed. There's going to be a lot of starvation in Sri Lanka. A lot. They're going to have to pay any of their bonds. They're doing talks with the IMF for bailouts. This would be like the 11th bailout for Sri Lanka in the last, 70 years. Sri Lanka's going to be pretty bad because, when the shit's the fan everywhere else, they're going to be as forgotten as everybody else. And we all know, if you've read Confession of Economic Hitman, the things you've got to pay aren't just money when it comes to IMF and World Bank loans. You owe other things that make rich people even richer. And it's kind of a double-edged sword. Julianne Houston, if life starts at conception, should men have to start paying child support at conception too? Yep. Gotta be consistent. Give that fetus a social security card. Give the parent child tax credits. Let the moms drive in the HOV lane. If you're gonna be claiming that this is a human, and it's a life, then they should be able to purchase life insurance on that fetus, and $10-20 million policy. So if you do have a miscarriage, then you get payday. It can't. Here's the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy that really just pisses me off. The Catholic Church's opinion is that life begins at conception, which is not the opinion of the Bible. The Bible says life begins at first breath. Not only that, but God killed the firstborn. There's in Numbers. There's the bitter water potion to create a miscarriage, essentially a Plan B abortion pill. There is God orders the Jews to slice the fetuses from the bellies of pregnant women and rip them out. Like, he does not give a shit about fetuses in the Bible. But the Catholic Church claims that life begins at conception. But if a mother has a miscarriage, the church will not let her bury that child in a Catholic cemetery because the child never got baptized while it was alive. Therefore, it cannot. And it goes to limbo or whatever. So, what's the deal, man? Why are you so outspoken about abortion and then don't even treat a miscarriage as if it was a human? It's because it wasn't. It was a fetus. We're in for some shit, dude. Seriously. It's gonna get bad. It's gonna get real bad. Okay. Daphne, Houston, after hearing about DTC waiving margin and calls, is MOAS still possible and inevitable? If so, why? Yeah, still possible. Because remember, the entire market's about to crash and burn real hard. Which means hedge funds everywhere are going to get obliterated regardless of the fact they're invested in GME or not. They're going to implode without us even having bothered to buy GameStop at this point. The kicker is that we did buy GameStop, and they're going to have to close those positions at some point. So yeah. Philip D, metamaterial bounce back next week or down the drain? Well, it'll bounce back eventually. It always does. Anna Rolnick, Houston, please give us a big rant about these horrible reversal of Roe v. Wade. Far-reaching implications. I'm brokenhearted for a woman whose rights and autonomy have been stripped away. Yeah. I'll probably talk about this 5 more times on the show. Because it is big, bad news. It's bad. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on, man. It is just... It's going to make life worse for Americans in general. Especially if they go after contraception next. So, not only will you be forced to carry a baby to term, you will not have the ability to even keep yourself from getting pregnant. No IUDs, no condoms, no birth control pills, no sponges, no diaphragms. Nothing we would use as a contraceptive will be allowed. That'd be against the law, according to what Justice Thomas wants to do next. Which it sounds to me like an activist court. That is very activist. I'm sick of the activist court that we have. And no decisions they've been making have any precedent. They are completely pulled out of their ass based upon their theocratic values. And we are going to stick a bunch of women with a bunch of kids that nobody wants. We've got 117,000 kids in the foster system right now who cannot get adopted. I can imagine that in the next 4 years, that ballooning to 500,000 kids who can't get adopted. And hundreds of thousands of dead mothers. We already have some of the worst mortality rates among pregnant women in the first world. And it's going to get worse. We've got a really shitty healthcare system. And especially for women of color, doctors do not give them things like painkillers or spinals when they go into birth. They have incredible pain. They don't listen to them when they've got things like ectopic pregnancies. They don't feel right. A lot of them live in states where, you know, they may have miscarried and may need surgery to remove the dead fetus from their body and aren't allowed. And then they get infections and die. It is going to get worse, a lot worse. And, you know, the silly thing is that the people who are pushing for the ban of abortion don't support, you know, pre-K. They don't support child tax credits. They don't support universal health care. They don't support education systems in general. There is no support system, no daycare, no nothing to help these people. And we are just gonna... we're just gonna make things a lot worse. We're going backwards, man. We shouldn't go backwards. We should step forwards. That's the entire purpose of this whole experiment of the United States of America, is to move forward and make things better. Not make shit worse because somebody read an antiquated book written by a bunch of primates who didn't even have the concept of zero. And not only that, but those folks, according to Jewish law, abortion is allowed. So if you are a Christian and you have the New Testament, you still have this whole other book called Old Testament where abortion is allowed. So it's allowed in Islamic faith, it's allowed in the Jewish faith, but for some reason, modern Christianity has a huge problem with it. And then when the child's born, you know, the dad doesn't want to support him, the government doesn't want to support him, the community doesn't want to support him, and the poor mother has to like live in poverty raising a bunch of kids she doesn't want. And that just creates generational trauma that no one gets over, man. It's, that's what it is. Scott Lumley, happy birthday, Houston. Do you think that Trump and his cronies will be arrested for January 6th? And if they are arrested, what will that chill that side out a bit, or will it make things worse? It should be arrested. 60% of Americans polled say that Donald Trump should be charged and arrested. But you have to remember, the Democrats are a bunch of pussies. They really just do not have the stones to do what needs to be. Do what needs to be done. About half of them do, and the other half hem and haw and go, "Whoa, my district! I'm in a swing district. I can't actually have an opinion on something," and they never do what's right. Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema are useless. About half members of Congress are useless. And, you know, I don't know if Merrick Garland will actually do anything about it, but man, he needs to step up, charge people, throw people in handcuffs, get them turning on each other, and do more than what Mueller did. Mueller did nothing. Not only that, but then when he released his report, he allowed Bill Barr to basically neuter it so that it didn't say what it actually said. A lot of crimes are committed. The fact that we have like 20 members of Congress who were begging for pardons meant they knew they had broken the law. So charge them, arrest them, convict them, throw their asses in prison. Take those people who support the insurrection and throw them out on the street. They cannot be in office anymore. We need to make things actually better. We need to actually improve this country and not go backwards to some sort of weird McCarthyistic 1950s America where we've got segregation and, you know, back alley abortions and 8th graders going to 8th grade graduation because they're going to be barefoot and pregnant when they're 15. We gotta do better. We gotta do a lot better, man. We gotta do a lot better. Okay. Okay, GameStop report did that. Ocean Beach, San Diego? That's what we're talking about? Anthony Wilson, thank God for the Constitution, all the kids that won't be murdered. It's wonderful. Anthony Wilson, more kids are going to die from this than you could possibly imagine, and grow up in poverty and in terrible situations and end up bouncing around foster homes. It's going to be really bad. And the Constitution says nothing about abortion. It doesn't. What the Fourth Amendment does is allow the right to privacy and unreasonable search and seizure. And a woman's body is her body. And anything inside her body is hers as well. She can do with it as she wishes. They're not kids, they're fetuses. It's not a baby until it's out of the womb. Until then, it's a fetus. There might be viability of that fetus, but as far as I'm concerned, a woman has any right to do with her body as she wishes. And, half these politicians who are cheering on the Supreme Court right now have paid for abortions. Donald Trump's paid for probably 50 abortions in his life. Why? Because he's a philanderer, and he hates to use a condom, as we know from Stormy Daniels. That dude has definitely created lots of children that he did not want to take care of. And he makes these women sign NDAs, gives them a pile of money, they get an abortion, and it's done. It's... That's what I have to say. Okay. Anthony Wilson, a fetus feels pain from abortion. No, it doesn't. The fetus has no language structure, no imagery. They don't know what's going on. They don't. You're just making shit up. Okay. Dr. Magneto, the incest rape claims less than 2% of all abortions you need to get out of the collegiate system and into the real world. No, I don't. Women don't need a reason to get an abortion. They don't. They don't need a medical reason. They don't need a personal reason. They don't need an outside reason as to rape or incest or anything else. They should be able to get an abortion whenever they want, for whatever reason they want, because it's their body. Right? Condom broke. Get an abortion. I already have 2 kids and can't afford a third. Get an abortion. I don't care. As long as you can do whatever you want with your body, it's yours. It's not up to me. It's not up to you. It's up to that particular woman. And that, I think, is what is enshrined in the Constitution. Less than 1% of all abortions are in the 3rd trimester. Way less. And like 99% of those are because the baby never developed a brain. So why are we focusing so much of our attention on, we gotta ban abortions after the 25th week, whatever? Because, the only reason people were having those abortions at that time, at that period, was because they discovered the kid didn't have a brain, or didn't have a heart, or some other horrible, calamitous, ailment that will make them non-viable when they leave the womb. No woman gets to like 35 weeks for pregnancy and is like, you know what? This isn't for me. If you've made it that far through it, you are pretty dead set on having that kid. But if you learn that your child, is missing a brainstem and will never function beyond like drooling and its chest going up and down for a few months at $200,000 a month in an NICU, you should be allowed to have that abortion. You should be allowed to have that abortion for whatever reason you want, man. It's their right. And fuck the Supreme Court. Just fuck them. Do you know that like 70% of abortions are women who identify as a religion that's against abortion? Want to know why? Because they're not taught sex ed. They're less likely for them and their partner to be carrying contraceptives. And you know what? They're still going to have sex. Why? Because sex is fucking fun. Sex is awesome. What drives our entire society is the need to get laid. Everything we do is about getting laid. Skyscrapers are built because dudes want to get laid. Fancy cars are purchased because dudes want to get laid. That's the entire point of our society. You can make whatever qualm you want about it, but, most people want to get rich and powerful because they just want to get laid. And they don't want to work that hard at it. And premarital sex, 99% of everyone does it. But Justice Thomas wants to revisit that. He wants to outlaw premarital sex. How many of you in this chat right now never had sex before marriage? And I bet anyone who says they never had sex before marriage is probably the worst person in this chat. Just, man, sex is fun. It's a blast. As long as you learn how to do it responsibly, guess what? Abortion goes down. Abortion rates right now are the lowest they've been in like 40 years. Why? Because we've got access to contraceptives and we've got education on safe sex. That lowers it more than anything. But now we're gonna have abortion go through the roof. It's gonna be back alley abortions done unsafely with coat hangers and weird chemicals and all sorts of stuff, man. It's meow meow. If there was a stock that you weren't allowed to speak of and it had $50 million offering and price drop, would you buy the dip? If such stock existed, perhaps I would have bought $50 calls at the absolute bottom and be very stoked about it. But, you know, if that stock existed, that may be what happened. Chakiseki, what's wild is that women will be criminally penalized for miscarriages in certain regions of the country. Yes. They'll be penalized for miscarriages, charged with murder. Doctors who have to perform a surgery to remove that fetus can face life in prison in places like Alabama. Life in prison for clearing out dead cells that can get infected and kill somebody. Life in prison. So yeah, if you are a woman in one of these states where this is gonna be outlawed, send me a message. And if you need a place to stay and a ride to a nearby clinic, you just go on vacation to the Northwest. I've got a guest room. Stay. Take care of your thing. Go back home. No one's the wiser. You know, if Louisiana wants to extradite me to out of state to be charged with aiding and abetting an abortion, fuck Louisiana. Women should have all this access, man. Okay. Kronk, they're not going to ban interracial marriage. Yeah, they are. Even though Justice Thomas is in an interracial relationship, they will totally do that. They will drop loving in a heartbeat. Why? Because they're a bunch of morons. That's why. Everyone said, "Oh, they're going to come after Roe," and then you got Susan Collins and other Republicans were like, "Oh, you know, they told us that Roe was precedent. They weren't going to overturn it," and everyone else is like, "They're lying to you." And now that they overturned it, they're like, "I can't believe they lied to me." Yeah, because you're a fucking moron with terrible judgment. No, they're going to go after interracial marriage. They're going to go after contraception. They're going to go after premarital sex. They're going to go after gay marriage and gay sex. They're going to go after sex toys. They're going to go after everything. They're going to reduce us to as puritanical a state as possible and think it's absolutely awesome when everyone is just in poverty and in filth and raising 50 kids they don't want. They're going to be like, "Woo, we did it. We made America great again. Now that everybody's piss poor and diseased and has no running water and can't feed themselves, we really made America great." That's what they're going to do. Okay. Two-wheel L Freedom. China's high-speed rails are the next Evergrande. Debt-riddled operators dented the bottom lines of the investment banks and the shareholders of China's Railway Development Fund. Yep. Remember, all the awesome infrastructure China built, they built with our money. Our banks and institutions took huge sums of cash, gave it to China for these bonds, and then China built really awesome infrastructure with no intention of ever paying it back. So they took our money and went, screw you, Americans and Europeans. Thank you for all the money and our awesome infrastructure. We're never paying you back. There's $9 trillion in municipal bonds that are going to go probably the next 2 years go into default. $9 trillion. We thought the $300 billion or so from the real estate stuff was bad. And it's going to be trillions that China's never going to pay back. which is going to be really weird because China holds a bunch of bonds for all their what's the stupid project? Belt and Road Project they're doing around the world. And they're going to demand, hey, you need to pay us or else we're going to steal those ports or those canals or whatever we built. But they're not going to pay us ours. And so we can't go into China and be like, hey, we own your train system now. And like, screw you. No, we're just not going to pay you. Deal with it. So that probably should be how it goes, is that whoosh, everything is just clean RuneStick and we start all over again. Purportedly stupid. Best way to protest road decision is a sex strike. Thoughts? Turn off intro. Play after dark intro. I think a general strike. I think if Americans just stopped doing things for 2 weeks, we didn't go anywhere, we didn't shop anywhere, we didn't buy anything. If we just didn't do anything, we would bring this country to its knees, and it would force those who are elected to actually do their job. Right now they're like, oh, it's Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin. They really won't help us get rid of the filibuster. Take Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema out back of the Capitol building and beat them with a rubber hose until they agree. You're a majority whip. Whip them. Literally whip them until they do what they're supposed to do, what they were elected to do. I don't care. Make them. Tell them you're going to, do what they did to Madison Cawthorn. Dig into their past, pull out every dirty little thing they've ever done. You got a dossier on them of just shitty things they've done. Use it. Be mean. Be dirty. The one thing Republicans do right is they make sure everybody falls in line. And the Democrats are just a bunch of cats who are too busy licking their armpits to actually do anything. And it's pathetic. They need a little more lockstep when it comes to their platform and to only allow people to run who agree to that platform. Manchin and Sinema are useless and need to just get gone. Okay. Dr. Magneto, we are not a minority. You are the fascist as you. Dr. Magneto, you're full of shit and you got no proof. Want to see how much you're in the minority? Let us just go. Go there. I'm gonna turn on. What show is that? Google. This one. That's the one. Okay. We're gonna go. Majority of Americans support abortion. Look at this. Right there in the search bar. About 6 in 10 Americans say abortion should be legal. Pew Research. How Americans really feel about abortion. 67% believe should be legal. A majority of Americans identify as pro-choice, Gallup poll shows. Factbox, broad U.S. support for abortion rights at odds. 71%. 5 hours ago, 71% of Americans now. The most recent. 71%. Democrats and Republicans believe abortion should be legal. So, Dr. Magneto, not only are you so full of shit and wrong and lying to me, but you've deluded yourself into believing you're the majority. You're just a loud, crappy person. That's all you are, Dr. Magneto. You're a loud, crappy person who's going to get people killed and make our country worse. So, unless you somehow are part of the 71%, you are not part of the majority. You are in the minority, bud. A very small minority. Because even of that 39% that still support abortion, there's even more of them who believe that there should be exceptions for rape, incest, when the life of the mother or child is at stake. So, you're wrong. Admit it. You're just a wrong person, and you're wrong about everything. And your entire ethos is predicated upon the fact that you're wrong about stuff. So how about you just try reading a book and being right about something for once. It's not that hard. It's pretty easy. You can just go to Google. You can type in a search term right here in this little bar, and it will give you data that's scientifically collected and put through the rigors of population control, of how the question is asked, what the outcomes are, randomization of that population, and you will see that consistently most Americans, the majority, support abortion rights. So, stop being wrong, Try being right. It's not that difficult. It's right there. You are on the internet right now. You have the technology in front of you. You have the ability to be correct for once. So try being that. It's not difficult. It's right there. I just showed you how to do it. You just type on your little keyboard and ping, it pops up with the correct answer to your question. So there you go. Okay. Kronk, citizens of New York need lawful gun owners. Citizens of New York have lawful gun owners. New York has one of the lowest murder rates of any major city in the United States, despite being the largest major city in the United States. Why? Because they have lawful legal gun owners. But now, the the Supreme Court overturned the law that made sure that lawful, responsible gun owners were the only ones that had guns, and will now allow pretty much anyone to have them. Which means you are now supporting citizens of New York to have unlawful gun owners who are crappy and unresponsible gun owners. So, ring. Green thumb, good morning, stop murdering children. Children are not being murdered. Fetuses are being terminated. They're not children, they're fetuses. A child is something outside of the womb. A fetus is inside the womb. It is a collection of cells. It is inside the woman's body. If I pumped you full of a bunch of, fertilized embryos, and I made them, cling to the sides of your stomach until you died, you'd be like, that sucked. Well, same thing happens for women. It sucks. So, I might take a green thumb that you are not a woman and that you will never be pregnant. And if you did get someone pregnant, you'd be very upset that they made you pay child support. There's a lot of men who do not realize that they have gotten a woman pregnant and that woman got an abortion and saved them a whole bunch of headache over their lives. Can you imagine if every one night stand you had from a bar, you found they weren't allowed to get an abortion, and you had 3 kids you didn't know about, then all of a sudden they hunt you down and you owe $100,000 a year in child support? Can you imagine what your life would be like? All of you men who hate wearing condoms and get drunk at bars and have sex and, make terrible decisions, there'd be a lot of child support that has to go around that you don't want to be paying right now. I mean, hell, we're learning about Herschel Walker's 55 kids that he's just slowly revealing to us. All these guys, they make some really terrible choices. And there's probably a whole bunch that don't exist because those women got abortions. Like, oh man, Herschel Walker is the dumbest person I've ever met in my entire life. I cannot have this child. Heck, man. Meow meow. Women should have no say in what they do with their bodies. I should have that job. I'll start with Ava Max. She needs to bring that body to my house. Gilead. That's where we are. Okay. Jay McGill, majority Americans are for abortion. If a majority was against it, then by all means it is a democracy, but I'm sick and tired of decisions and laws being made for the minority and not the majority. Yep. And the majority is very sick and tired of it as well. Yeah. But, Anthony Wilson, we should have a concealed carry event in the New York subway system. It'll be the safest they ever felt. Jesus Christ, dude. Yeah, the subway system that just recently suffered what? A mass shooting? Nothing better than a crowded carriage and a gun going off. That is just like the best possible outcome you could possibly have. Anthony Wilson, did you eat a lot of lead paint chips as a kid? Because you got some real dumb ideas. And this show is probably going to be me insulting people in the chat, but seriously, dude, guns in crowded spaces are not what makes people feel safe at all. No, it does not. Just a gun going off in a crowded carriage full of 50, 100 people is not what's going to make people feel safe. They don't. They don't at all. The majority of Americans support gun control. The majority of New Yorkers support the law that got overturned by the Supreme Court. No, they don't. They don't feel safe for that at all. Dr. Magneto, Houston wants it to be illegal to murder babies after 9 months for any reason. That's all you should know about him. Dr. Magneto, all we know about you is that you're wrong about everything. So, and no, I don't support murdering babies. I support terminating fetuses. Again, you got to get your language right because you're using the wrong language. A 9-month-old baby is different than a 9-month-old fetus. They're different. They are different things entirely. And you know what? The only fetuses that get terminated that late in pregnancy are ones that don't have brains. So you want vegetables? You want us to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars keeping something that will never have memories or experiences alive, just because so its heart keeps beating for a few more months, and then it dies tragically and horribly? No. I think, Dr. Magneto, you should be financially responsible for every unwanted child that's born. How about that? How about Dr. Magneto has to pay from this point forward for the care of every child who's unwanted in America? So all 117,000 foster kids, Dr. Magneto, you are now going to be responsible for. Start working harder, man, because there's 117,000 kids that you aren't taking care of right now, who are unwanted, and you just step up, do your fucking job, man. Go take care of those kids. What are you doing here in this chat right now? If you're complaining, go take care of them right now. Get off this fucking chat and go take care of those kids. Start doing it. All talk, no action, man. Meow meow. There's a new handgun with a switch that makes it an automatic, and it's ripping apart cities. I've heard of, pistols that fire high rates of speed. Military grade Mac 10s and Uzis and stuff were getting dumped into cities in the 80s, and they're floating around everywhere still. But yeah. Interweb user, does the prospect of civil war seem more real and possible? I don't know if it will be so much civil war as just senseless violence like the 60s. I mean, people don't really realize how many bombings happened in the 60s and 70s. A lot. Hundreds of targeted bombings happened. Just blowing shit up all over the place. College campuses, recruiting centers, so many. And if people feel like their voice isn't being heard, they usually resign to tactics like that. I mean, you can see it from the fact that the abortion clinics got burned. They got blown up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and so many abortion doctors were targeted and killed because those people felt like their voices weren't being heard. And so they resorted to violence. And now we've got a majority, not a small minority, a majority who feel like their voice isn't being heard and their elected officials aren't doing what they should. And yeah, I can totally see, people being like, you know what? We'll make them listen. And I don't like the idea of that, but I totally get that that's what happens. That's what happened in the 60s and 70s. Hundreds of bombings happened. And, people were like, oh, the world's coming apart. Elected leaders are being assassinated in large numbers. Shit's blowing up college campuses. There's Kent State riots. There's the riots at the 68 Democratic Convention. It was mayhem. And you know what? Push people to a limit is what happens. All you have to do is look at the Arab Spring, right? What were the conditions of the Arab Spring? You had a very educated population of a whole bunch of youth that were massively underemployed. We're talking engineers, doctors, lawyers who couldn't get jobs and were selling things like fruits and loose cigarettes on card tables, in markets and outside of storefronts, right? These are people who have engineering degrees selling oranges and grapefruits for pennies a day just to survive. And all it took was the police knocking one of those tables over, and the poor guy who lost everything lit himself on fire in front of the police station and sparked revolutions across a dozen nations in the Middle East. What do we have right now? Fairly high educated youth population that has more unemployment and less wealth than any other generation in history, right? They're fed up. They are much further left than those who lead them. Their voices aren't being heard. They are sick of it, and they're pissed off. We already saw the largest protests in generations happen in 2020, and I wouldn't doubt if this summer we see more of that. People are sick of it. No change has been happening that's good. Like, we are definitely in regression stage of this whole affair, this whole American experiment. So yeah, I don't have a good, my crystal ball does not have a good outlook for the next year or so. G-Font, I'm a different note than abortion and guns. Collateral failed to delivers for the primary dealers is spiking again. A rug pull in July is coming. Yeah. We also have a few $100 million in GME FTDs that come due on, what, the 5th? 5th and 6th? So, the short trading week of July 4th might be pretty eventful. When is July 4th? It's 2 weeks from now? July 4th is a Monday. So that 4-day trading week I think might be pretty eventful. 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Yeah. So, in G-Font, again, thank you for lunch in Banff. Hope I didn't give you COVID. I think I got it while I was there again. Ugh. But anyway, yeah. I don't know. If I saw a Canadian production company, I might be getting the hell out of here. See ya. Deal with your own shit. Okay. Chakuseki, Democrats desperate to fundraise instead of actually protecting rights. Yep. The old people who run the Democratic Party do not see the writing on the wall. They do not have the crystal ball. All they say are like, oh, we need to raise more money because we need to make this money machine do its thing. And I think Republicans were smart for 40 years to not actually overturn Roe because they campaigned on the promise to overturn Roe. But now that Roe is overturned, they cannot use that as a campaign call anymore. Right? The Democrats can be like, oh, we're going to have to campaign for the next 40 years on overturning Roe. This country's not going to be around in 40 years the rate things are going. It's see? Meagle, Biden has wrecked our country. Biden has been ineffectual at best. He's not wrecked our country. The country got wrecked by an ineffectual, poor mitigation of a global pandemic. We didn't band together as a human race to defeat this thing, and we got our asses kicked by it. And we're suffering inflation from a crashing of the logistics networks around the world. We have uneven unemployment across the globe. Supply chain is garbage. We dumped $30 trillion into the market and not into people. So the market's completely inflated, which means it's going to crash super hard as a result. We probably should have let the market go to garbage in March of 2020 and pick up the pieces from there rather than playing this thing out further. We basically took all our money and gave it to rich people who didn't know what to do with it except invest more in stocks that already exist, which does not mean, like, if a stock is not being sold for the first time, that investment isn't going to anybody. It's just going to other rich people. Initial public offerings and offerings at the market and direct sales and things like that by the company, that money usually goes into R&D and whatnot and actually moves around. But if you have a bunch of rich people that have more money than they know what to do with, they're going to go, dump into that index fund. And then they forget about it. Whereas if you give the money to the actual people, they use it to do stuff. They buy bread and diapers and things like that. And the money moves around the economy, but we spent very little on the actual people, and a whole bunch on inflating the stock market beyond the fundamentals, and it's going to bite us in the ass now. Okay. Okay. Iggy Limon, Houston, can abortion clinics be set up in international waters just offshore of some states? And could someone provide free transportation outside clinics? It was before Roe v. Wade. It was very common for young women to, go on vacation to England, and they'd take a trip to London for, especially if they had money, and they would be there for a couple weeks and come back after their vacation to London, where they're getting was an abortion. You'll probably see more vacations to states that allow it, more vacations to Canada and Mexico. And these states that are banning abortion and trying to criminalize it, and even criminalize miscarriages, which are just something that happens. It's nature, man. Some fetuses are not viable, and that's just the way it is. They will definitely be spying on women's internet habits and their search histories. And if you've got one of those menstrual cycle apps and you live in a state where abortion is being banned, stop using it. Or if you're going to use it on a throwaway burner device or something, but not on your actual phone, because they will definitely track you and hunt you down and arrest you. Someone suggested this Tuesday be fundraiser for Planned Parenthood. I might do that for July, but we're going to do Tuesday's charity show is going to be for brain cancer research in support of our loyal viewer, William Morgan, who just got diagnosed. So we're going to be doing that for this Tuesday. I don't know which specific charity. There's like 4 of them I'm looking at, trying to decide which one is the one that jibes the best. But yeah, that's going to be June's Charity Tuesday. Is going to be for brain cancer research. So we'll get spicier perhaps for July's. Okay. Black Udon, we got some spicy comments tonight. Yeah, we do. We're spicy Houston tonight as well. Okay. Oh, Andrew Stewart. That one's brutal. People can read that comment. I don't know if I feel comfortable necessarily reading it out loud, but that's gnarly. Yeah. Men in general are more powerful than women and can force women to do things, and it's horrible. And we need an Equal Rights Amendment, and we need women to have the right to choose, to even that playing field. Meow meow. To those who don't like the rants, the show is called Houston Have a Problem, not Tucker, We Have a Fetus. Make me cough. Clear out the lungs. Pronto, Houston. What is your opinion about the Gamma Libra experiment? Gamma Libra experiment. I have to look that up so that I know. Libra experiment. What am I talking about here? Oh, it's the dark matter detector. Yeah, they're gonna find anything. They're gonna find nothing. Dark matter doesn't exist. It is poor math, is what it is. So, I'm going to talk about this, I think, in the past, recently. But dark matter is not a thing. It does not exist. And I am in the minority of astronomers who thinks this. And I love to go to AAS, and next year I'll go WS, and I will have a room called Dark Matter Doesn't Exist, You Dummies. And I'll have a bunch of astronomers come in, and they'll yell at me, and I'll prove them all wrong. Why? Because when we look at a galaxy, we count the stars, and we go, okay, there's 200 billion stars in this galaxy. Most of them have an average mass, about half a solar mass. So that's a 100 billion solar mass galaxy. And then we calculate the orbits that should be happening inside of there, and it doesn't line up at all. But you can count all those stars, but then you also have to count the gas and dust that make up the stars in those galaxies. And what we learned is that in our solar system, we got our star and the planets that go around it, and the star is pumping out all sorts of radiation just constantly, and that creates this thing called solar winds, which is a net force outwards of high energy particles making their way out of the solar system. And they clear dust and debris out of the solar system. So if you leave Earth's atmosphere and you go interplanetary inside of our solar system, the average density in space is like 1 hydrogen atom per cubic centimeter. It's not very dense. It is an incredible vacuum. Will just suck the eyeballs out of your head, and it's crazy. But what we learned from Voyager 2, we threw Voyager 2 out to the far reaches of the galaxy starting in the 1970s. And in 2012, it left our solar system. It was all of a sudden in interstellar space. And the first thing they discovered in interstellar space was just how dense it is. It is 40,000 times denser than our star system space. Meaning, our star system in the vacuum has 1 particle per cubic centimeter. There is 40,000 particles per cubic centimeter interstellar space of gas and dust. So if you calculate the disk of our galaxy, they think of it as like a big cylinder, and you can count all the stars, and you get 100 billion solar masses of stars. But if you count all of the interstellar space and those 40,000 particles per cubic centimeter in the interstellar space, you get to like 900 billion solar masses, which means all of a sudden our galaxy is the correct size. Pretty crazy, right? That we can count all that gas and dust, and then all of a sudden our galaxy is the size it should be. And the planets are moving at the speed they should be. And we don't need dark matter to explain anything. Done. It's so easy. I don't know why other astronomers are not doing this, because it's so easy to do. Gamma Libra are not going to find shit. Just like the germanium dark matter detector that they have in the Homestake mine in Lead, South Dakota. They haven't found anything in 30 years because it doesn't exist. Another reason why dark matter doesn't exist is if dark matter were everywhere and permeating everything, gravity is always attractive. It is not repulsive. The only thing that marks the supposed dark matter's existence is the fact that it has baryonic mass. It doesn't react to light or electromagnetic waves or anything like that, but it creates a gravitational field. And anything in a gravitational field wants to fall into whoever has the most dominant gravitational field. So, if star systems in our galaxy were moving through clouds of dark matter, those star systems would scoop up all that dark matter, and those suns would suddenly become much more massive and much hotter and brighter. But no star system in our galaxy has ever suddenly become brighter and hotter for no reason. We've never seen it happen. And another strike against dark matter is they believe that it's in this halo outside of the galaxy, contributing to the mass in the center. But that violates Newton's shell theory, which is if you are inside that mass, any mass outside of the sphere you're in does not count towards your gravitational pull to the center. So the Gamma Libra, they're not going to find anything because there's nothing to find. Dark matter does not exist. It is just people doing poor math, and they don't have to. They can do good math and discover that the galaxies are all the size they should be. And there's all the mass there should be out there. It's pretty easy, man. Prontal, pretty easy. Okay. Bitcoin, civil unrest, high inflation, stock market crash, food shortage, and more. Riots in the streets. Yep. William Morgan, 3 branches of government, executive, legislative, judicial, executive, legislative, do not have power over the judicial. The problem is that the judicial was selected by, the majority was selected by presidents who did not win the popular vote. So they represent a minority of the population and should not be basing their judicial views upon activist notions that ascribe to theocratic rules. They should be paying attention to the actual Constitution and not just kind of making it up as they go along to fit whatever narrow worldview that they have. That's the issue. So pack the court. The Constitution, let's find it. Oh, was it Clause 3? I can't remember. Article 3. Yeah, let's get to Article 3. Article 3, here we go. Okay, Section 1. Judicial power of the United States vests the Supreme Court. Judges, both the Supreme Court and inferior court, shall hold their offices during good behavior and shall, at stated times, receive for their services compensation. Not that one. You guys can't see what I'm reading here. Judicial power extend all cases, law, equity, rising from the Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made or shall be made. I want to get to Congress, where the House is. Bastards, treason. Congress shall have the power to declare punishment for treason or... Oh, shoot. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. Trial of crimes. Is this one? Committed when not committed with any state. Trial shall be such place. No. Where is it? Okay. So it's Section 2, Clause 2, I believe. In all cases affecting ambassadors, public court councils, which state shall be party, Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. In all other cases before mentioned, a Supreme Court shall have an appellate jurisdiction both as to law and fact, with such exceptions under such regulations as Congress shall make. So, Congress can determine, basically, how the court works. That's their job. So they can say, we need 13 justices. We need a justice to represent every single district. They can make it however they want. Congress gets to decide that. Yeah. So, Congress, you can do your thing. You can vote right now to add 4, 10, 20, 30 other justices to the Supreme Court. And that's your prerogative, man. That is your power. So use it. Be dirty, man. Be dirty. Okay. How high could AMC go? Not financial advice. It can go to thousands if, Adam Aaron doesn't keep screwing things up. Jaina Aka Hanzo, Houston, everyone says market makers won't let MOAS happen. I feel like they never will. Isn't it going to be out of their control sometime? Well, if you noticed, a whole bunch of market makers involved in crypto have been obliterated in the last 2 months. So it is possible for these guys not to meet capital requirements and then cease being able to do business. So if it can happen in the crypto market, it can definitely happen in the stock market, especially with a market that's in complete just going down the drain right now. It's possible. Market makers don't want to let it happen because they make a bunch of money selling people stock that doesn't exist. That's their entire business model. All we have to do is change that business model, man. So yeah, Jana Aka Hanzo, get well quickly, Houston. I'm trying. I'm getting there. Wednesday was brutal. I literally, out of 24 hours, I slept 20 of them. It was bad. And then yesterday I was just a coughing machine. Today I'm better. My voice is still very low. I'm very snotty, but I'm getting better. I'm improving, even if the world's going to shit. So I'm personally improving. Paratarian, with the release of Maxine Waters' documents admitting Citadel, Robinhood, Contact, DTC set aside the $9.7 billion. Do you think an NFT dividend on blockchain is the only way to trigger MOAS? I think it's a way. I do think that a complete market collapse does just evaporate banks and market makers. That or NFT dividend can probably do it as well. I'm sure that the GameStop board has worked out several plans. They may just be limited in when they can offer what plans. And so I think their first task is to get the GME marketplace going, then do their stock dividend. And if that doesn't work, they can do an NFT dividend, cash dividend, something like that, because they're sitting on oodles of cash. Takes us back to my idea for a honeypot scam, or scheme, I should say, where you make a holding company, you offer stock, and you let the market makers and hedge funds short the shit out of it, short it down to pennies, to fractions of a penny, short it down to nothing, so that they've generated millions or billions of shares, and then you buy up all those shares with a subsidiary of your company and put it in a second holding company. And then your main company offers $1 dividend on the 1 million shares issued. But there's several billion shares out there that all need to have that $1 covered. Make a fortune. And then it would just evaporate hedge funds. So anyone wants to help me do that, let's do it. Okay. Okay. Kronk, have you seen the movie Heat? I have seen the movie Heat. It's a very good movie. Janaka Hanzo, Houston, where are some good climate-safe places to move in and out of the United States? I read a study years ago that said the major city that's most prepared or best equipped to handle global warming is Detroit. That they would have much more mild winters, longer, better summers and springs. I can't argue with their data. Seattle's probably not that bad, although if you're close to the water, you're probably going to face drastic sea level change in the next couple of decades. Boreal climates might be more brutal. So if you get into Siberia and northern Canada, you might have a lot of forest fires wiping out those ancient forests. Southwest is going to be awful. Tropics will be hotter than usual, but usually they're pretty stable because they get a limited amount of sunshine during the day. 12 hours dark, 12 hours light, pretty much year-round. And they're mitigated by the oceans. I don't know. Patagonia? You might lose all your water sources because all the glaciers will melt. But, yeah. I mean, I think we're going to get to a point where a lot of the Earth is going to be uninhabitable. They call it wet bulb when you can never cool off because the humidity is so high that even using a fan doesn't help because it just blows more humidity onto you. And that's usually when people start dying. And, like, the heat index is at 105 and just stays there for weeks at a time. Folks usually get wiped out by that. All right. Sorry, someone's messaging me. Is it important? Okay. All right. That's just my mom. My mom can ignore me for a few more minutes. Okay. All right. Meagle, more mostly peaceful leftist riots spurred on and defended the mainstream media. Can't wait. Meagle, dude. People's rights are getting stripped away. Actual rights are getting stripped away. It's not a bunch of rich redneck wannabes driving $100,000 Ford Raptors into their $500 a night hotel rooms in Washington, D.C. to throw a shit fit because their shitty president lost an election and they tried to overthrow the government. This is the majority of Americans having actual rights that they've been lived with their entire lives being stripped away from them by a minority court. This is different. This is entirely different. And protests are legal. You're allowed to protest. You're not allowed to violently overthrow the government, but you are allowed to protest. That is enshrined in the Constitution. Unless, you're trying to protest at a Supreme Court Justice's house, which you're not allowed to do that, apparently, even though this court already affirmed that you can go to an abortion doctor's home and protest there. So, it's okay for these, not for me. That's the way this court seems to operate. So, yeah. Blarp. Project's son, Killer Mike, is an effing don. Killer Mike is the best rapper in the world. I'll say that right now. I love him more than any other rapper. He is just my idol. I love that man. And if I can get a TV show, I'm going to find some sort of excuse to have Killer Mike and LP on it. And I don't know how I'm going to do it, but it's going to happen. Yeah. I am so far behind in the chat. I got enough rants. I'm like an hour and a half behind. All right. Are you recording? No, I forgot to record. No, I'm not recording. Okay. Bitcoin, every leading country goes through a cycle, about 3/4 through ours. We are at the civil unrest, poor versus rich. Every country through history has crashed and replaced. Yeah. Thing is that like we could have learned from our past and done the right thing, but we seem to have the status quo that will doom themselves out of existence, and they just don't learn. Yeah. So yeah. All right. And a rule at Houston, if you bought Apple in 2009 and reinvested the divvy since, and recently sold 25%, would sell more. Cost average is $26, not financial advice. I think it's, if I had Apple right now, it's probably at the peak for this cycle. And maybe buy back in a year from now. When things start to improve again, if they start to improve again. But I think the NASDAQ has got a lot more to go. A lot of the companies that had high-flying stock prices, what's happening to them is basically a dot-com bubble. That they're running out of venture capital money, and they do not have a business model that supports themselves yet, and their prices are getting out of control, and people are using their services less because inflation is taking away a bunch more of their income. And so, Uber's more expensive, Airbnb's more expensive, Grubhub and Uber Eats and all that stuff is more expensive than it was, and people are going to shy away from it. And they're not locked up in a pandemic anymore, even though they should be, because I've been out for like a month. But I think a lot of them aren't available as much, and we're gonna see these things start to evaporate. And as the rest of the NASDAQ disappears and that stuff drops, my video keeps like blinking in and out. It's weird. I don't know what's going on. That it's gonna bring down the Microsofts and the Amazons and the Apples and all those guys. Okay. Frozen State Productions, Houston, we don't need any production company from LA to shoot your shows after MOAS. We will have the money to do it ourselves the way it needs to be done. Yes. And probably with Canadians. I will be signing a deal with some company this summer to do the show. That won't necessarily be a deal for a network, but we're at least going to be in development. So that's going to happen. Just Prep Pals, Tennessee. If you haven't talked about it, please talk about the Planet Parade today. If you have, I'll catch up soon. Thanks. I've not talked about it. So we're going to have Mercury, Venus, Mars, Neptune, Uranus, Jupiter, and Saturn all visible just before sunrise this morning. So that's pretty crazy to have all of them up there. Every planet in the sky visible in one line. I mean, you can't see Neptune and Uranus unless you have a telescope. But you'll be able to see the other planets visually, which is pretty rad. Be going from east to west. I think it's Mercury, Venus, Mars, Neptune, Uranus, Jupiter, Saturn, I believe. So we'll have all the planets visible at one point. I won't be awake for it because I'll probably be falling asleep after the show. Take my NyQuil and be done. But yeah, it's pretty rad. So if you are a morning person or somebody who can stay up until 4:00 in the morning, and when you've got a nice telescope, you'll be able to see every single solitary planet that's in our solar system on one vista. So yeah, it's pretty rad. Sad Boy Incorporated. Glad you're feeling better. The more I learn and research about cattle mutations, the more terrifying it is. Also, thoughts on all women going on strike for Roe v. Wade. This is what directly affects women and indirectly affects men. I totally get it. More power to them. Whatever women decide to do, I'm going to support it because I support their right to choose. So if they want a general strike, then let's do a general strike. If they want a sex strike, then sex strike away. If they want to, throw like trash cans on fire, then do that too. Their rights are being stripped, and any response seems to be a reasonable response to me. Okay. Okay. Dakota, sorry I'm late, even though I'm sure you're already hours late. I am hour and 14 minutes behind at the moment. All right, we're getting there. Okay. Way up. That's kind of the way. That's kind of how they do it. And sexual panic gets a whole bunch of idiots in a tizzy right off the bat, and they will go into a mob and they'll work that mob mentality, and they will start hurting people, and everyone else will just stand by and go, well, thank goodness I'm not gay or trans. And then then they'll go after the leftists and build Dachau and throw them into a camp and go, woo, well, at least I'm not a leftist. Then they start picking away the Jews. They're like, well, shit, my neighbors disappeared. Well, phew, at least I'm not a Jew. And they will work their way through the entire population until no one but them is left. And that's how it works, man. That's how it works every single time. Oh, and chat just reset again. Okay. Probably just cut off an hour of the chat, so that'll make things easier. Hey, we cut off about 40 minutes. So sorry if you were between like 8:20 and 9:02 p.m. Your chats have vanished. Sorry about that, but it gets us. Now I'm only 37 minutes behind. Yay us, right? Okay. David Allen Grove, Houston, how about a poll among viewers to kick Dr. Magneto? Dude's probably not ever getting laid anyway, so he's not going to have to worry about any women in his life having an abortion because none of them are going to touch him with a 10-foot pole. Bonnie R. Need to respect and protect unborn babies. How would you like to be aborted? Bonnie R., I would never have known if I was aborted. My mom had 4 miscarriages before she had me. And you know what? Under Alabama law, currently, my mom would go to prison for one of those miscarriages, and I never would have been born in the first place. So, Bonnie, what do you think about that? Huh? Right? My mom would be charged with murder for having a natural miscarriage. And I never would have had the chance to be born. So, shut the fuck up, Bonnie. Because you're a bad person. And be better. Be a better human being. And not such a crappy person. And support women and the right to choose. Your name's Bonnie. You're probably 105 years old. And you probably have dried up insides and no ability to have children of your own at this point. So I'm just going to assume that you're just a bad person. And you think women should be saddled with children they don't want or need or have the ability to raise. And it's just going to make more crappy people like you. So there you go. Dr. Zeno Houston, your philosophical ineptitude is staggering. Dr. Zeno, you are a gross person. There you go. I'm just gonna insult one by one. I'm just gonna go through the list here. I know more about philosophy than you do. I bet we could sound off books about philosophy, and I bet I've read all of them, and you've read probably none of them. Where should we go? Where shall we go? What philosophy shall we tackle next? The fact you refer to yourself as a doctor, or the fact that you just stated rather connotative sentence that my philosophical ineptitude is staggering without citing any ineptitude whatsoever inside of that. Give a reason. State where is my reasoning flawed? Where is it flawed, my man? What did I say that does not have a reason behind it that you would say is so flawed and staggering? I'll wait. I'll look to see if you pop it in there, man. But I don't think you have one. I think you just are blinded, probably by a pastor who A, never actually read their Bible, and B, told you what to think since you were a small person, and that your entire philosophy, it was told to you and not reasoned out by you. And that you are comfortable with that because change, you fear change, and self-reflection is not at all in your... He's an idiot. And if we were to play a game of True Pursuit, I would crush him. I know more about everything than him. There's no way he could beat me in any test of mental acuity whatsoever. Whether it's general knowledge, spatial reasoning, I would crush him, and it would be embarrassing. So I will confidently say that everyone is arguing with me on here right now. I've read more than they have about everything. So, I mean, I'll be, but throw my hubris out the window. Yeah. Sinchan, we'll look to live someplace else outside America after MOAS. Things will get worse before they get better. This is true. It's going to get a lot worse. And we have to recognize that those of us who have that privilege to leave, we're leaving behind people who will never be able to be stuck. They're going to be stuck, and they're going to have to deal with this. And, you know, this is what every kind of, you know, refugee and person has to go through in their head, is like, who am I leaving behind? You're going to be leaving behind a whole bunch of people of color who do not have the financial means, the passports, anything. Get a passport. Every single solitary one of you, tell your friends to get passports. Get your passports now. Get it. So, yeah, it's get those passports. That is your best avenue. And if you need to, a one-way ticket somewhere, because most countries around the world, you don't need a visa to go visit, and maybe you just get stuck there as refugee status. So think about that. Get a passport. Tell your friends to get passports. Tell your families to get passports. Get your passports now. They'll last a decade. And that is step number one. If you don't have one, get it, man. Go get a passport. Okay. Boom. Daphne, a lot of hecklers and trolls join us tonight. Why not? Yeah. Looks like my stream upload is getting real slow all of a sudden. Maybe I'm getting DRS attacked. I don't know. We'll see. Video's still going. Sync sound's still going, but I'm getting the warning that I'm getting hit. So, yeah. When GME split? I don't know, Mike. My guess is after the GME Marketplace goes live. So whenever that's going to be. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Ryan Hurt, how can we protect ourselves against the Carrington effect? Carrington effect is a big magnetic storm. If you guys don't know, oh, okay. Basically, a large magnetic storm here. Dog hair on the tongue. There we go. All right. huge coronal mass ejection from the sun aimed right at Earth, hits our magnetic field, essentially strips our magnetic field, and bombards us with charged particles. And those charged particles essentially short out everything. The last time I got hit with one was in the 70s. Knocked out the power grid in the Northeast and much of Eastern Canada. If one direct hits us, Texas is toast because Texas power grid is garbage. But we haven't been hit with a giant one since 1859. September 1859. It was big. You could see the aurora borealis during the daytime. At night, it was horizon to horizon in the northern hemisphere. There's woodblock paintings in Japan of it. We didn't have an electrical system back then, so we didn't know what the effects were upon that. But it would wipe out tons of our satellites. It would wipe out your watches, your cars, your cell phones. The way you protect yourself is to turn off electrical devices or to use Faraday cages, Faraday cloth. You can do hardening of electronics. A lot of electronics in space are hardened for large swaths of electromagnetic radiation, shorting out their systems. So, but as we learned a few weeks ago, Starlink is not protected against that, and that they didn't have an astronomer looking at solar flares. They lost a whole bunch of satellites to a solar flare back in, March? So I think they hopefully hired an astronomer by now. But yeah, it will wipe out a lot of stuff, and permanently so. Like, burn out a cell phone to the point that you will never be able to turn it on again. It won't work. It'll short out everything in the circuit board. How do you protect yourself against it? Faraday cages and turning stuff off. You'll have like a 2-day notice. They'll say like, hey, we have a solar flare that's gigantic. It's headed right for us. It'll be here in 26 hours. Prepare yourself. And everyone will have to like shut everything off and turn off the power, and because you don't want it to surge through your systems and bust everything. So yeah. Meh. Can I? Hide user on this channel. Bing! Anthony's gone. All right. Bye, Anthony. I don't need you on here anymore. You don't need to watch my show anymore. You can just go away. Sad Boy Incorporated, would you consider to do a 24-hour stream marathon, maybe for MOAS? Thoughts on DB Cooper? If he survived, where might he have gone? Also, what scares you? I don't know if I could ever do a 24-hour stream. I do 2 hours, and my voice is toast. Like, I got 9 minutes left, and I'm just seeing that finish line, especially if my throat is rough as it is. I don't think I could do 24 hours. I might be able to do 3. I don't know what I talk about for the rest of the time. They just get me on one rant for 24 hours. I don't know. Thoughts on DB Cooper. If he survived, where might he have gone? My brother was convinced that he was flying with DB Cooper when he was doing fire bombings in the Rocky Mountains, like early 90s. But like DB Cooper didn't steal enough money to like live like a king. He got a couple $100,000. Half of it was recovered, although they did find what they think may have been his parachute and some cash in southwestern Washington. But I don't know. Oh, dude, hush. No need. It's just a car driving outside. You don't need to go yell at everybody. Come on, man. Just chill out. Chill. Hold it. Nope. You hush too. No, you don't start. Don't you start also, you barking dogs. But, you know, jumping out of a plane going 400 miles an hour will just, like, pull every muscle in your body. I think that would suck. Anyway, where might he have gone? he probably just returned back to normal life. Hopefully invested that money in the S&P 500 and retired. I don't know. Dude, hush. Also, what scares you? The slow creeping slide into an authoritarian state. That's probably it. I've talked about my unsubstantiated fear, which is like all of a sudden find myself back in time, in medieval times, when everyone's like gross and smelly and not having toothpaste. Not having toothpaste is probably my biggest fear. That's probably my... Brush your teeth, man. Take care of your teeth. Okay. Oh! Shush! Okay. There, I got 7 minutes here. Might as well scroll down to the bottom, see what people are yelling at me here. And, thanks for joining me this late night, Saturday night here. DDoS on Houston. Very possible. Okay, Project Sun, giant sunspot has doubled in size in 24 hours and is pointed at the Earth. Heat records being set. We'll see. I mean, what we need is 2 sunspots to make a coronal mass ejection. So they migrate, because basically what we think is, the core of the sun spins and the atmosphere spins at different speeds. And so the sunspots appear, they're poles, positive and negative, and they rotate at different speeds at different layers. When they get close to each other, they blend and are attracted, and then whatever band of energy they have that's coming off of them, because there's particles that are going between the north and south poles of these things, when it combines, they're cut off and they fly back. They fly towards Earth on a tangent, or out into space in general. So if it's one sunspot, doesn't matter. If it's 2 sunspots, they're getting close to each other. That's when you gotta go. You might get a coronal mass ejection if these things combine. Okay. JB, do you think solar flares will cause glitches in the stock market? Seems like a building narrative. I think it could. If they aren't hardened against a solar flare, it would wipe out the stock market. It would literally destroy the computers that exist, that trade, if you don't turn them off in time. Okay. Daphne, well, he told them, cut those trolls down with his lightning sharp tongue, superior intellect, bit behind the chat. Yeah. Kevin Reaganomics, I hope I said that right. For some positivity to end with, who is your all-time Sonic starting 5? Thank you. Ooh. I mean, basically the 96 Sonics. I'm a huge Sam Perkins fan. Big Smooth was my favorite basketball player. That dude would just sit there basically with his eyes closed like French Stewart and just drain threes. He did have the record in the NBA for the most threes in a game, I believe. And that got been broken since the era of threes has begun. But yeah, and I mean, I'm all for Perkins, Shrimp, Peyton, Kemp, and McMillan. Probably those guys right there. I think if Sean Kemp didn't have a drinking problem, I think we would have won the 96 championship. But he went out drinking the night before and fucked up. But, Kemp's cleaned himself up since then. But man, they were an exciting team to watch, and they had the fundamentals down. I think they could have beat the 96 Bulls if Kemp hadn't been drinking. But, it was an exciting time in Seattle to just get steamrolled by the Bulls but man, Peyton trash talking, he was the best trash talker in basketball, I think, at the time. He just John constantly. So much fun. Okay. Dog just want to have fun. Houston, can you explain swap theory? Basically, you just trade debt. That's what it is. You got a whole bunch of debt that's coming due, especially if it's FTDs or synthetics. You just trade with somebody else, and it resets the time clock. And you just keep trading. As long as the music's going, you keep trading, and you can avoid having to pay your debts. If the music stops, though, whatever you're stuck with is going to eat you alive, because a lot of it is insane debt. And a lot of it, they do swaps, or they push it on to, shell companies that have no assets. And there's, secretly some company in Brazil or Cayman's like, okay, we're going to take all this debt. That's yours. Not mine anymore. Oh, no. I sold it to you for $1. And they move it on that way. Houston, have you ever seen Bill Burr's Philly rant video? I have not. One of the best rants ever. I'll have to check that out, because I do enjoy a Bill Burr rant. He does a great job. J. King, Houston, thanks for late night. New York welcomes you. All right. Well, that's been a long time since I've been in New York. I'll have to head back there at some point. Jonathan, Fish wears a mattress. What if we all say no to government settlement when the time comes? They can't force us to sell. Actually, they can. The settlement will be negotiated, but essentially they'll say, we're going to give you $60,000 a share. And whether you say yes or no, those shares will be removed from your account and $60,000 a share will be put in. So you don't have a choice. It's just like if a company, like if Elon actually goes through on the Twitter sale, everyone who has Twitter stock will have the $54.20 deposited in their account, and their stock's just going to vanish. Whether they want to sell or not, it's just going to be gone. That's how it works. So if there's a government settlement for price on the stocks, you're not going to have any choice. You're just going to have cash in your account, and your stocks are going to be gone. That's how it's going to work. But yeah. And Stuart, here's some much love, dude. Good night. Good night, Andrew. I'm going to head off here too, because I'll get done for the evening. Michael O'Hara, Sean Kemp made babies all over the US. It's like 78 kids or something. He's Genghis Khan himself. Every city that was an NBA city, Sean Kemp has a bunch of kids. He's like, what's that guy? The one that was Mariah Carey's monkey? What was Mariah Carey's husband's name? Who now has like 500 children? Or was it Delman Young? I think it was Delman Young. When he was a rookie, I can't remember if he was a rookie with Tampa Bay? Maybe with Tampa Bay or maybe the Marlins, somewhere in Florida. 9 women were pregnant with his children at the same time as rookie year. Like, oops. Yeah, you gotta do better than that. Wear a condom, dude. Just wear a condom. Okay. All right, everybody. That's it for me. Thank you for 2 hours. Carlos Rio Cruz, thank you for the barfy face thing there. I'm going to get some sleep, and yeah. So, does that sound cool? That sounds cool. Let my voice rest some more. I'll see you guys Monday and Tuesday for our charity show. And everyone have a great night. And it's after dark, so we can do one of these. Yay!